Peace, blessings, much respect, much love. It's your boy, the Ghetto Guru, aka Sean Go, coming back with another message. Hope all is well with y'all. Hope you're having a great day. If not, I hope the rest of your day get better. But I got a message, so we're gonna get straight into it. So I wasn't even gonna do a video today, but yeah, I was just urged to do this message. So we're gonna get straight into it. So this video is gonna be titled "Humble versus Ego." Humble versus ego. So there's been a lot of talks online, just in general, that I've been seeing. I don't know if y'all been seeing it lately, when it comes to the word humble. And a lot of people have been diving into the actual definition of humble and have been saying how that hasn't been the greatest thing to have in your character. So a lot of people have they've been telling people to revisit that word and the definition, because they were saying it's actually not a good thing, as everybody has been promoting it through the years. So yes, you can say that when you look at the word, and I'll get into the definition, but this is a detriment to why we are like we are as a society. Not everybody, but most of us, because everybody has this egotistical attitude in this generation, and it's really not to the benefit of anybody or anything in this world. Is really a detriment, because there are times you have to be humble, and I will go dive into that as I give the definition, and I'll give many reasons of you have to be humble in many situations, no matter what way you put it or what way you try to say it with the word or the definition. So I'll get into the word and the definition, and I'll get into the reasons why I'm saying what I'm saying, because that's the problem in the world, where a lot of people say things, but they don't have no context and have no back end to what they're saying. So it sounds good when people says that, oh yeah, the word humble it doesn't mean anything, and when you look, it doesn't mean anything good. Rather, when you look at the definition, it sounds good. Just like when people used to say, oh, you look up the word black, it doesn't have a good definition. It sounds good, but it doesn't. You're not giving any context of what you're saying, so that can be very confusing to people that's listening to that, and they can take it the wrong way. So I'm gonna get into all that. So when you look at the word humble, and as a definition, it says having or showing a modest or low estimate of one's own importance. Having or showing a modest or low estimate of one's own importance, of low social, administrative, political background. So yes, when you hear that, automatically you're gonna think like, that doesn't sound good. That doesn't sound like anything that's positive. That sounds very negative when you read it. Yes, it does, if you're not putting any context to it or any backing of explaining why is it saying that. So automatically, yes, you're gonna think like, oh, that doesn't mean any good. I'm not lowering myself for anybody. I'm not dimming my light for anybody. Of course you're gonna say that. But there's times when you have to do that in life, and I'm gonna say that. Oh, and before I get into that, I wrote down a lot of other things, because I didn't want to lose things. I wrote down that's the reason why we see a lot of arrogant people and a lot of lost people in society, because nobody knows how to be quiet and listen. Everybody's so much into, I'm not being humble, I'm great, I'm this, I'm that, I'm all this, beating their chest. And this is a problem why nobody can learn anything in this society, and then especially in this generation, and why nobody knows how to be quiet enough to humble themselves, to take advice, to take teachings, to learn lessons. Everybody feels like they know it all. They don't have to follow no teachings. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to do any of that. And you see that with a lot of the younger youth. And that is a very issue of why there's a disconnect between older generation and younger generation, because of that reason. That teaching has been taken out, and now we have implicated now of just let the children be children, let them do what they do, let them express themselves how they want to express themselves with no repercussions. And it sounds good, but it's a detriment, and you see the detriment, because a lot of kids are very disrespectful now. They don't listen when adults are trying to tell them anything, and you can't tell them or teach them anything. They feel like they know it all. And this is part of that, because people are teaching them, don't be humble, don't do this, don't dim your light. And that ego is now way too much. And everybody is so egotistical, where they're just saying stuff out of their mouth with no proof, no backing. They're just doing things with no correct intentions, and they're just doing the wrong things. What's up, man? How you doing? up? How you doing? Good? Oh, do you get us that? Oh, sit. Yep. Yeah. Go. Want to say out to the camera? We just gonna lower it a little bit. All right, bet. I'm for it. You know, the youth. Speaking of the youth, the kids coming through. So you know, I had a little younger run through. But anyway, that's a big issue. What we see in the disconnect when it comes to older and younger generation, which is the teaching of not being humble. Everybody being so egotistical. Everybody being so into beating their chest, saying whatever's on their mind, just not listening, just doing things that they feel, would be correct in their eyes, but it's really not overall for everybody and the greater good of humanity. So I wrote down a lot of different stuff because I ain't want to forget nothing, because it's a topic that's very important and I didn't want to miss any clues or anything when it came to this topic of the word humble versus your ego. So, like I said before, this is why we got a generation of opinionated children. Nothing wrong with being opinionated, but it's a problem when you think you know it all and you haven't experienced things in life as much as others that's trying to teach you and try to prevent you from going through pitfalls that they went through themselves, and you feel like you don't have to listen to any of that. You feel like you don't have to be respectful to nobody because you're you. You do things this way. You feel like there's no repercussions, no nothing. You just want to do it how you want to do it and don't care how it affects anybody else. So that's what I mean by opinionated. That applies to not just teenagers and young adults or children. That also applies to older adults. And you see that with older adults too. Very egotistical. They can't learn anything either from people that might be younger than them or people that's their age. You see that a lot. So it's a very, very big issue that we're facing when it comes to that. So I'm going to give you the examples now of exactly why I'm saying there's moments when you're supposed to be humble. So the first example I wrote down, when you walk into a room of people that's more successful than you. This is a problem that a lot of people have in this generation. Not knowing when to be quiet and to listen. When you walk into a room of people that's more successful than you, you have to be humble, because guess what? Just like the definition said of low status, your status is lower than everybody else in that room. You have not accomplished what those people have accomplished in that room. You have not met the criteria. You don't have the credentials, nothing. So because of that, your status is lower than them. Meaning that you're not saying that you're less important, but you don't have what they have accomplished yet. So it's best in your interest to be quiet, to walk in that room humbly, not egotistically. Leave your ego at the door. They might say something to you about, you need to do this if you're trying to get to this level. You slacking. Your work ethic is not as good as you think. You have to learn how to take all that on the chin, because it's going to help you. Even if it doesn't feel good at the moment to hear that criticism, it might not feel good. It doesn't feel good because they're not bigging up your ego. And that's the problem with society, or why a lot of people don't reach their potential, because they want people to big up their ego. And if you're not, and you're saying something against it, then you're a bad person, you're a hater, you're mean, all this BS, when these were normal teachings when we were younger. When I was young, especially when I use the example of sports. When I was playing ball, a lot of the coaches weren't being nice, worrying about your feelings. If you were slacking, whether you were slacking in school, on the court, in practice, they was going to get on your ASS. And they did not care if you cried. It wasn't none of that, because you needed to learn how to have tough skin, and you needed to be humble. They're not going to big you up and blow smoke up your behind and be, oh, you're this, you're that good. No, because then it's going to go to your head and you're not going to work on your game. So they got to humble you. Even if you are the best in the group, they're going to take a hit at you and be like, oh, you need to work on this though, because it keeps you humble, so you don't start thinking too highly of yourself, and you don't work hard on yourself or your game or anything about yourself outside the court. That was the point of humbling you. So you don't start thinking that you already made it, and you don't start thinking you're too good, that you're better than everybody around you. That also teaches you the humility to treat others with respect. Even if your skill level was better than the people on your team, that doesn't give you the right to talk down to them or talk about them. You treat every teammate equally. Everybody touches the ball. You see what I'm saying? That is teaching you how to have humility. what you need, so when you go and play the game, you have respect for the game. Thank you, God. Which brings to the point of why you see a lot of kids in a lot of sports are very, very egotistical. Celebrating on the court, talking smack to the opponent, pushing each other, trying to fight. We never seen that when we was younger, during my era and the era before that. Because the teaching of being humble and respect for the game and respecting everybody, even respecting your opponent. It's the reason why when you up 20 points, they tell you not to score on your opponent. Because even though you're up, and your opponent is not as good as you at the moment, that doesn't give anybody the right to disrespect them, to flaunt it or taunt them. That's back to being humble. Lowering your stat, lowering who you are, even if you have the right to boast and brag, that doesn't give you the right. And that's what I'm saying. People have lost that. So there's the times, yes, you have to be humble. Yes, being raised and disciplined by your parents. Nobody was that crazy to talk back to their parents, to do something that they said not to do, and if you did, you know there's going to be repercussions. If they told you to do something, you better have did it. This is humble. When you was outside and anybody else might tell you to do something, your friends, you might not listen, but if your parent or any elder that has some status in that neighborhood told you to do something, you best believe you better go ahead and do that. There was no talking back, there was no disrespect, there was none of that. Even if you walk past a group of elders and you was with your friends and you curse, you would say, sorry ma'am, I didn't mean, or sorry mister, I didn't mean to curse in front of you. That's a level of humbleness. I'm lowering myself. Any other time I would be talking crazy records, but because I've been taught to respect elders and respect people that's older than me, I know better to have certain conversations in front of them, to do certain things in front of them, and to act a certain way in front of them. That's humbling yourself, putting your ego at the door. This is what I'm saying, what people love to promote and act like they don't have, and you have to do that at certain times in life. When you go to other countries or you go to a different neighborhood, you can't just go to any other hood and just start saying and just doing whatever you want. People are going to try to beat your mind in that country or that neighborhood. When you go there, you have to have a level of humbleness. You have to have a level of humility, because you don't know, you don't have the same backing and everything that those people that live there do. You don't be there on every day. So when you go there, you have to go to that country or that neighborhood with respect. You have to respect people. That's why people always got this thing, I'm not checking in nowhere, but it's not about that. It's about a certain level of respect and humility. Like, hey, I'm coming here, I know this is y'all, I know I'm me, I know the power I got, I know the connections I got, but at the same time, I know the power that y'all got, and I'm on your coast, and I'm on your neighborhood. And I just want to let you know I'm here on humility to respect where you're from. That has nothing to do with you being a person that of less class or less. No, that's showing respect and humility, and showing that you are showing people that you're equality. You're equal as them as well. You're no bigger than them. So these are things that we lost when people lost, and they don't put no context when they say, oh, humble is bad. It depends on what you're saying. Humble towards. But there are times you have to be humble. When you're going to somebody's house. Any other time you might keep your hat on, but because you're going to somebody's house, you take your hat off. You're lowering yourself. Yes, you're being humble because you're in their space, you're in their house, and you're in their rules. Same way as, like I just said, when you're getting raised by your parents, you have to respect their rules in their house. And you have to respect their discipline. You're not going off at the mouth and all that, because if you did, you're getting popped in the mouth. So we got to stop acting like humble is a bad thing, because there's time when you have to be humble. You have to lower yourself. If you're in a room where you're around people that know more than you, it's a time for you to lower your ego and be quiet and listen. Even if they give you criticism of something you don't like the way it feels, it's for your greater good. So there's times when you got to be humble, be quiet. Yes, there is. And there's times when you got to bring out your ego. So, but we have to stop pretending like, oh, because the definition says that it's no good. No, there's times where you have to be. When you go places that's not where you from. When you go in a room with people that know more than you, and when you're in front of elders and stuff like that have more wisdom than you, it's time for you to be humble. So peace, blessing, much respect, much love. I love y'all. Always keep doing your thing. Like I always say, whether we run, whether we jog, whether we sprint or crawl, because life is that hard. Sometimes you can't run, you can't jog, you can't sprint. Only thing we can do is crawl to our destination. But like I always say, somehow, some way, we got to make it to our destination someday. So peace, Blessings, much respect, much love. I love y'all. Keep doing y'all thing. Stay goal oriented. And to the next topic. Peace.